Today, we will be making an epoxy mold using EPOXAMITE Gray, Freeform Air, and EPOXAMITE. This will allow us to cast an encapsulated silicone prosthetic of a snake person makeup that was sculpted out of alien clay. If you haven't seen the video of this sculpt, be sure to check out the link above or in the description below. The first thing to do is prep the sculpt for molding. For this, some SculpTech sulfur-free clay is rolled out. It's important that the clay is sulfur-free because sulfur-based clays can inhibit our silicone when making the prosthetic. The clay is then laid around the life cast. This will act as a guideline for the shape of the mold. Once that's done, we will start working on the flashing and cut seam of the prosthetic. Using a clay extruder, a triangular shape of clay is extruded. This shape will help with getting a sharp and clean cut edge when casting the encapsulated silicone prosthetic. I'm going to keep this extruded clay about half an inch away from the sculpt, since this is for an encapsulated silicone prosthetic. If you're planning to do a foam latex or straight silicone piece, you will want the cut edge to be about a quarter inch away. The cut seam is a transition point between the flashing and the blended edge of my prosthetic. Without it, we won't get a feathered edge on the finished prosthetic. Wooden legs are positioned and secured to make casting into the mold much easier. Legs are tacked directly to the working surface using cyanoacrylate. The process is repeated for all 4 legs. It's now time to start making the mold. First thing is to apply the release agent. A coat of Ease Release 200 is going to be applied using a spray brush spray technique. The release agent is sprayed and then gently brushed around the sculpt to ensure a thorough coating. If any spots are missed, the epoxy could bond to our model and ruin the project. One last light coat of Ease Release 200 is applied. I am then going to spray a cotton swab with Ease Release 200 and apply the release agent to the nostrils and mouth. The release agent is allowed to dry for 5 minutes at room temperature before proceeding. EPOXAMITE Gray will be used for the detail layers of the mold. This is an epoxy gel coat that will self-thicken and hold a vertical surface. EPOXAMITE Gray is dispensed and mixed as directed. The liquid epoxy is gently stippled onto the model to ensure that all the detail is captured. We want to be gentle when stippling to ensure the sculpt isn't damaged. The epoxy is brushed over the entire model and flashing. It is carefully worked into the mouth and nostrils. After the liquid epoxy is fully applied, it is allowed to partially cure for 1 hour at room temperature. After an hour, the second batch of EPOXAMITE is dispensed and thoroughly mixed, just like the first layer. The second layer is used to build up thickness, and also fill in areas where the clay might be showing through the first layer. Finally, I will fill the mouth and nostrils with the EPOXAMITE. After this layer is fully applied, we're going to allow an hour to partially cure before applying our Freeform Air. Freeform Air is a lightweight epoxy dough that will add strength to the mold while making it easy to handle. Freeform Air has a 1A to 1B by volume mix ratio. In order to mix the Freeform Air, Part A is flattened out and Part B is added to the center. Part A is then wrapped around Part B, and they are mixed together until a uniform light gray color is achieved. I am going to use the air to simplify the shape of the mold and round any sharp corners to allow laying fiberglass down easier. We want to be careful to not trap any air pockets when applying this material. Any air pockets would be weak spots in the mold and could break and ruin the mold. I'm adding as little as possible while rounding out the angles to smooth and simplify them. If the angles are too sharp on the piece, the fiberglass will not lay down properly, resulting in air pockets and weak spots on our mold. Isopropyl alcohol is then used to smooth the surface of the Freeform Air. I'm not going to allow the Freeform Air to cure, or partially cure at this step. The reason for this is that the uncured epoxy dough is going to allow the EPOXAMITE and fiberglass to lay onto the surface of the epoxy dough easier. For the final step, EPOXAMITE, the 102 hardener, and fiberglass will be used to make this mold as strong as possible. EPOXAMITE is an epoxy laminating resin that is used with fiberglass to create extremely strong and lightweight pieces. A light coat is brushed all over the surface of the Freeform Air. The first layer of glass is put down, and a chip brush is used to force the resin to saturate the glass. A pair of scissors is used to cut the glass so it can be wrapped around the wooden legs. We want to make sure that the fiberglass is fully saturated with epoxamite and we don't have any dry spots, as that will result in a weak point. Smaller strips are added for extra reinforcement to the legs, so they don't break off. After the first layer is applied, 2 more layers of fiberglass are applied to ensure that there's enough strength. All layers are now allowed to fully cure for 15 hours at room temperature. After everything is cured, the mold is removed from the board. The Sculptex clay is easily removed using wooden tools. The sharp edges are removed to prevent cuts when handling the mold. Now it's time to remove the life casting from the mold. For this, I'm going to rest 2 pieces of wood on either side of the mold edge. This is why I extended the edge earlier. A piece of rectangular metal stock is then set on top. A C-clamp is positioned on the stock and on the model to be removed. This safely applies pressure to the life casting without damaging it or the mold, making the process much easier. Using wooden tools, the clay is slowly and carefully removed, making sure not to damage the mold. Once a majority of the sculpt is out of the mold, it's placed upside down onto a baking sheet and put it into an oven set to 212 degrees Fahrenheit. This will melt out the alien clay to quickly clean the mold and help reduce chances of damage in the details. The mold is left in the oven for 2 hours. After 2 hours, most of the alien clay has melted out of the mold. When a majority of the clay is removed, naphtha is used to clean the remaining remnants. Naphtha quickly dissolves both the Sculptex and alien clay. The mold is now clean, and you can see that the epoxy coat has reproduced all of the details from the alien clay sculpture. We are ready to cast silicone into the mold to create a snake person prosthetic. Be sure to check out the next video where we'll show you how we cast the snake person prosthetic. Smash that like button if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and remember to hit the bell to be notified of our latest content. If you have an idea for a future video, drop a comment below. I'll see you in the next video.